call Erica.
It was enjoyable me trying to say my last name. My first name's hard enough. That's Mayor Jim over there, but my last name is makes me stumble a little bit. But let's bow our heads in prayer. Lord, we just thank you for the amazing strides we have made this year, Lord. Lord, I ask you to open the eyes of the believers right here in Hood County and across our country, Lord, that they are not called to sit on the fence, Lord, that they are called to come boldly before your throne, Lord, and stand on the principles which you desire. Lord, just be with us as we take steps forward, Lord. Give us vision and wisdom. Lord, let all the leaders know that the only authority they have is what flows from you, Lord. That they are called to be ministers of good to the people, Lord. And as we hold them accountable for that, Lord, we ask you to let us do it humbly, Lord. But Lord, be with us as we take these steps, Lord. Lord, bless this county and bless these people in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Well, Nanny Sammy was supposed to lead us in prayer, and she wasn't able to come tonight at the last minute. So, who wants to step up and lead us in prayer? Jim? Brown? You want to do it? I'm not Brown. Sorry, Clay just. Y'all have to forgive me. I'm a little frustrated tonight. I forgot my computer and had to drive back home and then go back. And so just. I'll be okay. Matt Lund's going to lead us. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
We have all our veterans. Don't sit down. We have all my veterans standing, please. We want to recognize you for all the service you've done in our country. How about the veterans' wives, spouses? Thank you, guys. Next month, the HCRC meeting is on the same day as the Republican runoff. So we've had to move our meeting to May 19th. So we'll be meeting on the third Tuesday, not the fourth Tuesday next month. I'll make sure we get things out on Facebook and that, but just want to let you know. We're waiting to confirm possibly Tom Glass of Texas Constitutional Enforcement to come and talk about, there's an amendment that we're really urging for people to get the representatives to sign off on, and this is dealing with the implementation of the transactional gold. It seems like there's some people fighting that, and we really need to urge our representatives in that to be sure that they do vote for the amendment that they have up. So Tom Glass's group is working on that. We'll have him in here next month. So with that said, now that there's been the third assassination attempt on President Trump, every Republican needs to be at the polls in November. It's been reported that during the primaries in March, the Democrats were a little more motivated than the Republicans. So I'm making a call to action for the membership and citizens of Hood County to become campaign warriors. With the number in this room, we can make a big difference. I know not all of you can lock doors, but you can email, call other Republicans, have neighborhood meetings in your home to make sure everyone understands how vital it is for every Republican in the state of Texas to get out the vote. We could lose Texas if we don't get people motivated. They need to get to the vote. So I'm waiting on all you guys to get busy. Y'all need to put it together and make sure this happens. Tonight we have Matt Long. Matt Long's going to come and give us a little update on the data center status.
Of course, if I was a politician, I'd say, what data centers? All right, so Project Spectrum, data center, 1,500 acres, Project Patriot Data Center and Power Plant, 2,100 acres. Fort Spunky Data Center and Power Plant, 900 acres. Comanche Circle Data Center and Power Plant, 2,100 acres. Project Yellow Data Center, 500 acres. Project Red Data Center, 100 acres. Project Panther Data Center, 300 acres. Project Lion Data Center, 120 acres. Rain Lily Solar and Battery Storage, 800 acres. Lillian Energy Solar and Battery Storage, 1,200 acres. Wolf Hollow 3 Power Plant, acres unknown. Apache Hill Battery Storage, currently under construction on Mambrino. All that information is available on rejectbigtech.com. You guys can also find me at DataBad on Facebook, where I share all that info. It's important to emphasize all of those projects together because I don't believe that a single decision should be made on a single project independent of the cumulative effect of all of these projects. So that's a quick summary of the industrialization of Hood County. But in short, we are being besieged by 8,000 plus acres of proposed technological wasteland. The developers have insisted that it is our patriotic duty to surrender our land, our air, our water, and our power. And while they would love to convince us that their systems are benign, I think we all can agree that they are not. Yes, these things will use our electricity and will drive up our electricity prices. Yes, they will limit the availability of our water. Yes, these power plants will affect the quality of our air. And yes, we will experience detrimental effects related to infrasound and low frequency vibration, just like the folks are currently experiencing in Mitchell Bend. But the scariest part to me is that I believe we are currently constructing our own future enslavement.
Amen.
And the fact that Hood County would play a major role in this transformation is extremely worrisome to me. These data centers will be the digital backbone that enables our future surveillance state, and that will have the ability to track and control, by the way, our every movement and every purchase. It's starting to feel a little bit Revelation 13-ish to me. And forgive me for preaching, but we are in church.
Amen.
I've asked 3 questions, well, I've asked 4 technically, at Commissioner's Court and at the City Council. I've asked, are we a Christian city in a Christian county? Obviously, my contention is that we are. We say a prayer before City Council, we say a prayer before our County Commissioner's Court, and Jesus' teachings are the fundamental doctrine upon which our sovereignty and freedom are based. So as Christians, do we think taking 8,000 acres of natural beauty and exchanging it for godless technology, does that move us closer to the original creation, or does it move us further away? And do we think that negotiating with Google, Meta, and Amazon is closer to making a covenant with God, or is it closer to making a deal with the devil? And do we think that creating a digital infrastructure so large to track our every movement and our every purchase, does that sound more like Genesis, or does it sound more like Revelation? And because the answers to these are so obvious to me and others in my circle, we don't care if you can make a data center that's silent. We don't care if you can make it invisible. We don't want them here in Hood County.
Amen.
So what's currently happening at the county level? Well, the Development Commission has made a recommendation for the commissioners to bring Project Panther, Project Lion, Project Red, Project Yellow, and Comanche Circle back on the agenda in order to reject those based on a number of reasons in our current regulations that they're being measured by, but also the fact that we have some non-objective regulations that I believe allow our commissioners to make a judgment call. Is this an appropriate use of a rural district? Is this an appropriate use of a water quality district? And those are powers that are endowed to us via Subchapter K, which you all have certainly heard about. The county is also engaging with a law firm, Freeze & Nichols, to help rewrite our development regulations. The Development Commission is also implementing an advisory council of citizens to help us make presentations, do research on this topic in particular, but also others that could threaten our way of life in the future. My opinion is we simply need to fight these at every turn and wait for this speculative craze to wear off. I do believe that a lot of these projects will die on the vine, just like most real estate deals. But it would be nice in the meantime to get some help from our elected officials. And one of the major issues is that our state has been silent on this. The Attorney General has not weighed in on our appeal of our special authority via Subchapter K. We've had 3 members of our county commission that, in my opinion, consistently failed to make a bold stance on any data center related agenda item. So, where we are as it relates to data centers, I believe, in my mind, 2027 cannot get here fast enough. So, thank you.
And what Matt was talking about also goes back to the transactional gold issue that I was talking about. I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but what Texas would like to make it that we could make that an alternate currency. By the Constitution, the only currency that a state can have in that is gold. So Texas is trying to work to where maybe we can implement an alternate currency by the use of gold. And we have a very large depository here in Texas. So the data center issue is that the government side of it, they're trying to work it so that you have to do your transactions through their data centers so they can track every transaction you do, and in the long run start to put credit scores against you, and then they can control your finances. So this is something very crucial for us to look at, is the data centers and the transactional gold implementation. Next, we have our own constitutional director, Scott London.
Thank you. So last month we talked about the Ninth Amendment, right? And in short, the Ninth Amendment says just because the rights aren't written down doesn't mean they don't exist. We don't have to list them to have rights, correct? Which means, yes, you have a right to have a child. I'm not saying that you should, but you have that right? Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about the 10th Amendment. So let's get right to it. I know the 10th is a favorite of some. And the 10th Amendment, we could probably talk for an hour easily about the 10th Amendment. Don't worry, Sharon, I won't. But let's go ahead and cover that. The 10th Amendment says the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited it by the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. So let's break that down real quick, okay? So there are enumerated rights in our Constitution, right? I mean, James Madison said that the rights in this Constitution that are granted, not the rights, the powers granted to the federal government are limited and defined. Whereas the rights to the states are unlimited and undefined, right? So there's a short list of rights that are designated to the federal government. And now some of those powers that are delegated to the federal government are things like the post office and postal roads, right? We also have raising armies and coming up with weights and measures. Now, there's no prohibition for states to take any of those on, but we generally don't, with the exception of raising armies. We do have a National Guard, right? But we're not going to take over weights and measures. We're still on the standard system, not metric, right? And so those are things that the states have said, we're going to give that to the federal government. And when the states came together and came up with this Constitution, they also came up with some prohibitions, saying these are going to be some things that we as states are not going to do. And some of those prohibitions include coining money, right? We just want to have to go to the gold standard if we're going to do anything because we prohibit ourselves from coining money other than gold. We're not allowed to enter treaties. That's something solely reserved for the federal government. And we're not allowed to go to war, with one exception, invasion. Which, us being a border state, that's something we need to be be keenly aware of, right? If there's an invasion on our southern border, we have a right to defend ourselves as a state. So those are the two different categories of rights that we kind of distinguish, that we've surrendered, I say, delegated is probably a better word, to the federal government, right? And so why is it important for us to know this? Why is it important for we the people to know these things?
Because if you don't know what you have, you don't know when they're gone.
That's right. If you don't know what you have, you don't know when they're gone. So if we the people don't know what's in this thing called the Constitution, we can't hold our government officials accountable. And so if we can't hold our government officials accountable, we kind of acquiesce to their will, right? We might complain a little bit, but we're not getting much done. So we need to know what's in here. I mean, and I've said this before, I've taken an oath to this Constitution a number of times and had absolutely no clue what it said. I'm not unique. I think our country is full of a bunch of officials who take an oath to this Constitution, but don't know what it says. How can you defend something? I mean, we take an oath. I promise to support, preserve, protect, and defend. How can I preserve, protect, and defend something if I don't know what it is? Okay? And so now I'm going to get to kind of the unsolicited endorsement from Scott London. I've read a little bit about my Mr. Mays, and I like him. I plan on voting for him. But I'm also going to say that he has some big shoes to fill. Because I also like Ken Paxton. Why do I like Ken? Ken Paxton didn't acquiesce to the federal government when Biden was running over things. What did he do? He put on the boxing gloves and fought for Texas. And I think Mr. Mays, or Mr. Middleton, has the courage to do that same thing. Because Texas deserves somebody who's not going to acquiesce to the federal government. No, we deserve somebody who's going to fight for Texas.
Amen.
Thank you, Scott. Okay, so now let me even try to stuff So I believe now, after talking about Mr. Middleton, why don't we have him come up and tell us what he come up here and tell him what he's going to do for Texas.
Howdy, Hood County. Well, I'm glad the storms are not headed our way, but we definitely need to say a prayer for those that are in the way. It looks pretty bad out there. And I love that we're in a church here tonight, because we all know all authority in government comes from God. And we are a Christian nation. We are a Christian state. And we need to be bold in saying that.
Amen.
And we need to be bold in demanding biblical values in government, because that is what's gone wrong over the years. The atheists, look what they took from us. The 10 Commandments in classes, prayer, chaplains. We're putting those back. That was a huge victory last week with the 10 Commandments in schools. Huge victory. And look, the left says that it's harmful. Which part? Don't lie. Don't cheat. Don't steal. Honor thy mother, thy father. Don't kill. Which part of that is harmful? Children need to know God's law. Right? And then you've got someone running right now for Senate, James Tallarico. Have y'all heard of him before? He claims to be a pastor. Okay, this guy's a false prophet, is what he is. He's a charlatan, is what he is. He said there's a biblical argument for abortion. He said that God is non-binary transgender. He said that it was un-Christian and un-American to display the 10 Commandments in classrooms. You know what I did in response to that, by the way? I donated 10 Commandments posters to all the schools in his district in his honor. Because look, why are we here tonight? Number one, we got to elect conservatives. But number two, and most importantly, we got to defeat the left. Because they're coming for our children, they're coming for our communities, they're coming for our state, they're coming for our country. They are coming for us. And they want to destroy us. And for me, this is a calling, not a job. Right? Like our president, I don't take anything from him. I don't take the pension, the salary, the health care. I don't take the state license plate, which can get you out of parking tickets. It's true. Damn. Reluctantly give that away. I don't take the lobbyist, NFL tickets, or lobbyist ski trips. I am only here to serve and fight for the conservative values that we believe in.
Amen.
And look, I can't be bought or ridden. The left cannot get to me. And the Austin swamp cannot get to me. Because I am not in this to be liked and loved by my fellow politicians and lobbyists. I'm here to work hard, do what's right, and leave the results to God. Right? That is all that matters here in this fight. And it is a tough fight. Let me tell you, I actually ran against an incumbent. I don't know if y'all know. He got elected to the Texas House in 2018. He was someone that was not living up to his conservative promises. I know that story sounds familiar, right? Where someone runs as a conservative and then doesn't vote that way when they get there, right? Well, I decided to do something about it. I ran against him, knocked on 6,000 doors, and won. So I got elected to the House. I was chair of the Freedom Caucus after that, right after Mike Lang, y'all's old state rep. He was Freedom Caucus chair right before me. Then got elected to the Senate, ran against an incumbent there, and he ended up dropping out before the filing deadline. Look, that's what this is really about. You got to be bold. And if anything, wasn't the election in 2024 in November? That was a mandate on boldness to take this country back and take this state back. And look, as President Trump, is he not the greatest president we've ever had? This man loves America, and he will do anything to fight for her and fight for us. And it is that battle of good versus evil, of light versus the dark. You saw what they did to Charlie Kirk, right? They murdered him not just because of his conservative values, but because of his Christian faith. That's why they killed him. And look, this is a show me, don't tell me business, too. Are we tired of politicians telling us what they're going to do? Right? They need to show us the results. Right? And that's exactly what I can do, have done, and will continue to do. Show you the results. I took on the woke left's radical gender ideology and won. Authored and passed the Save Women's Sports Act, which kicks men out of women's college sports. Also, the strongest women's privacy law in America, which kicks perverted men out of women's restrooms and locker rooms. And these are perverts, right? That's what we used to call them, and we need to keep calling them that. I mean, these are men in women's dresses that showed up at the Capitol in makeup and said we were the ones that were attacking them. No, you're the ones that are in the restroom with our wives, our daughters, our mothers. It is good versus evil. That's the light versus the dark that we see every day at the Capitol. Greg, I know you've been up there many times. You have an incredible SRAC member, by the way. And you got an incredible future county judge right here. And this morning, and there's not any more lawfare here in Hood County. I know that as well. I see Colton back here. You know, he stood up for everybody. Thank you, Colton, for your boldness. Look, also took on the atheists in Austin and defeated them and got prayer and the Ten Commandments back into our schools. Took on our foreign adversaries as well and stopped China from buying our land. And not just China, enemy entities, radical Muslim groups like CARE and Muslim Brotherhood. I stopped them from buying property in Texas. That was Senate Bill 17. We cannot allow them to buy 1 square inch of our great state. I will never allow them to buy this out from underneath us, because this is Texas. This is not California, this is not New York. And this is it. This is the last stop on the line. And we also have to stop one of our most growing threats, which is something I've been fighting for the past several years now, and that is Sharia law and Islamification. Let me be blunt here. Sharia law is organized crime, period. And I will treat it as such in the AG's office. This is not a First Amendment issue. This is not a religious liberties issue. They see us as the infidel that they can commit jihad against. That's why this is a national security issue. This is a Texas first issue that we have to win. And look, for 7 years, I've been writing these laws, drafting these laws, defending them against attacks by Democrat attorneys on the House floor, defending them against attacks by Democrat attorneys on the Senate floor, getting them over the finish line and winning. Who better to enforce these laws as Attorney General than someone who was on the ground floor writing them and already defending them against the left's attacks? And look, go back to 2013. Ken Paxton was running for AG, right? And he was a civil attorney like me. He was a Gibson Dunn. He'd been in wills of states, contracts laws, other things like that. That's not why we supported him. We supported him because he was the top 1 or 2 most conservative members in the Texas Senate, just like I am. It was that proven conservative record that matters the most in these fights. And that's why I've been endorsed by the grassroots groups you gotta have to win a statewide primary, like Texas Right to Life, Texas Homeschool Coalition, Texas Values. Riley Gaines has endorsed me in this race. David Martin has endorsed me. And my former primary opponent, Aaron Wrights, has endorsed me in this race. And he said, and Aaron said the reason why, he said, number one, MAGA has united behind me. But he said also he knows in the AG's office I will back up President Trump. Darn right I will. Number two, he said he knows I will fight to defeat the left. And number three, he knows I will fight to defend Texas. Aren't those 3 things the things that matter the most here? Especially in this position, Attorney General. And it is a leadership position, right? It's 4,000 employees. It's 750 attorneys. You're setting the conservative agenda for this entire state. And so I'm the only one with the experience signing the front of a paycheck and knowing where the buck stops to do just that. And we have a lot of fights ahead of us. Have y'all seen what they're doing to ICE around the country? They tried to do it in Houston. They tried to do it in Dallas. They're trying to do it in Austin. They're trying to block President Trump and his border security and deportation agenda. And you know what? I've got 0 tolerance for that. And there is a very powerful tool to stop it. It's called the ban on sanctuary cities. That was a Freedom Caucus priority. And so what does that allow me to do? 3 things. You get in the way of ICE. You block President Trump's agenda on deportation. Number 1, you get sued for civil penalties. Number 2, criminal penalties. Number 3, most importantly, removal from office. You get removed from office if you get in the way of ICE. It is that simple. And I'm tired of the left treating our laws and our Constitution like a suggestion. Like it's cafeteria style. Like they're going to take what they want and leave what they don't. That's what lawfare is, by the way. It's selective enforcement of the law. And if you treat our laws, if you treat our Constitution as some kind of suggestion, you have violated your oath of office and you need to be removed from office. It is that simple in this. And whether that's a George Soros DA, all the way down to a county judge or a school board member, it doesn't matter. You cannot treat the rule of law as some kind of suggestion in Texas. I will not put up with that. And that's why we got in that position that we were in 2020. By the way, the 2020 election was stolen. Let's be clear about that. My opponent, on the other hand, does not believe that. and he was fighting to certify the stolen election in 2020 and install Joe Biden as president. Well, what was I doing at that same time? Fighting to pass the strongest election integrity law in America in 2021. And what does it do? Voter ID for absentee ballots and in person. Cleaning out our voter rolls to make sure only legally qualified citizens are voting. What else does it do? It makes it a crime for paid voter assistance, which is what Beto was doing in 2018. He was harvesting those absentee ballots. But look, all of those things are great, but it doesn't mean anything if it's not enforced, right? And they took away Ken Paxton's ability to enforce our election integrity laws in 2021 that the Court of Criminal Appeals did. So I fought last session to restore the Attorney General's power to prosecute election-related crimes. Got that over the finish line, passed into law. This past December, it went into effect. But you got to take step 2. And step 2 is a standalone task force devoted to investigating and prosecuting those that are breaking our election laws. Because we can elect all the conservatives we want. But if they steal it from us in November, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's why we also have to go after waste, fraud, and abuse. Like you've seen in the news here, that Southern Poverty Law Center was getting our tax dollars. It's not enough to eliminate it. Of course we want to eliminate it. We're going to do that. But we got to hold them accountable. Those that have committed the waste, fraud, and abuse. They've got to go to jail. They have stolen from us, the taxpayers. Government doesn't have any money. It is all taxpayer money. We saw what George Soros and his ilk did. They figured it out, right? With USA, we were paying for it, what it turned out. We were sustaining those groups that were destroying our country. It's not just the George Soros groups, it's those Islamic groups as well. They were getting that money as well. And so what will I do on day one? On day one, I'm going to investigate George Soros for the crimes that I believe he has committed against our great state. Also investigate all of these Sharia law pushing Islamic groups that are trying to destroy our state and our nation. They've got to be run out of town on the rail, and the AG's office has express authority to investigate those nonprofits. That's right there in the AG's office. And not only that, when you do that, you add to the enemy entities list. So with the product of those investigations, CARE, Muslim Brotherhood, they're just going to rename themselves, right? There will be all kinds of other groups that do the same thing with different names. So I can add to that list that prevents them from owning any property or critical infrastructure in Texas. And that is exactly what I will do, and it allows the AG to bring an action to force them to sell that property. And that's exactly what I will do in the AG's office. And there is a distinction here between me and my opponent here. Fort Worth Star-Telegram, y'all know the paper, right? It's terrible. It is so liberal. I mean, that thing has had Trump derangement syndrome before we even knew what that was. They have hated the president. This is the day they can even say his name or know who he was. And so the Fort Worth Star-Telegram endorsed Kamala Harris. It endorsed Nathan Johnson, who's a Democrat in this AG's race. And it endorsed Chip Roy in the Republican primary. And the reason why it did is they said they know that he'll fight Trump. Well, they're right. He's done it before, he'll do it again. He said President Trump committed impeachable conduct. And I'll point this out as well in this position. Do y'all know what his last day on the job looked like? He did work for the AG's office, by the way, Chip Roy did. He was told you can resign or be fired. Well, I don't know about you, but if you have an employee that you tell resign or be fired, you don't tend to let him back in the door, right? That's not very common sense. But look, in this race, this is about Texas. And I'll tell you, I am never retreating from Washington, D.C., because I'm never going to Washington, D.C. I have always known that the fight is here. I'm a 7th-generation Texan. I was born here, and I'm going to be buried here as well. And Macy and I were blessed to have 4 little ones at home that we homeschool. It's a homeschool day today. That's why Macy's not with me. And especially the little girl. She's tough. She's the baby She gets everything she wants. We don't know how to say no. And she knows she runs the house. And she's well aware at 4 years old that she is the boss of her big brothers. Well, if those 4 little ones, that's my daily reminder of what we're fighting for here and what's at risk. Because they're coming for our kids. They're coming for our grandkids. And we cannot allow the left to take 1 inch of our state. And I'll tell you this as well. There's a reason why I'm the only one in this race that's been protested at the Texas Capitol. Right? They had these big ugly green signs with my face on it, and they called me the bathroom bigot. Why? Because I don't want men in my little girl's restroom or locker room. It's common sense stuff. There's also a reason why the 2 Democrats in this race, Nathan Johnson, who's leading the Democrat primary, and Joe Jaworski, they had a big debate, right, on TV. And they said the guy we got to stop in this race, the guy we can't let get elected, is this MAGA Mays guy. They said we can't let him get elected. And they said the number 1 law that they would not enforce is the women's privacy law, the one I wrote. And just the other day, Nathan Johnson put out a big post on X. And he said this MAGA Mays guy has promised to back up President Trump with all the resources and tools in the AG's office. We can't let him get elected. Doesn't that show you, right, the difference here? Look, and there's also a reason why they threatened me and my family and their lives. And the reason for all of that, the protests, the 2 Democrats saying I'm the enemy in this race, the threats, is because the left knows who their true enemy is in this race. Because I'm already defeating them. And that's what matters the most in the AG's office, is defeating the left. I've done that since day 1 in office. And I will never relent and never get in. And I think of our forefathers here. San Jacinto Day was the other day, April the 21st. All the cards were stacked against them. That was tough. You know, everyone had just died at the Alamo. Everyone had been slaughtered at Goliad. Their families had fled in the runaway scrape. And yet all that, all those obstacles, they persisted, they didn't give up, and we won it all on that day. And the things that they fought for are the same things you're fighting for here in Hood County, which is our God-granted freedoms. We see it clearly. We know what the left is coming for. And the men and women, and yes, there are only men and women in this room. You are the tip of the spear, right? Showing up is half the fight. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you to Hood County. Thank you for showing up to the fight. Thank you for fighting for Texas. The reason why we all know it's so important is we don't have another Texas to move to. This is it, right here. And if we don't win this, there's nothing left. Because so goes Texas, so goes America. There will be no more United States if the left takes this state and conquers Texas. And you're the men and women to stop it. And I can tell you too, we can't elect statewide Republicans without Hood County Broadway. We got to make up the votes for Travis County. We got to make up the votes for Dallas County. We got to make up the votes for Harris County. Where are those votes going to come from? Right here. We can't elect a U.S. Senator. We can't elect a governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, railroad commissioner, Supreme Court. We can't elect any Republicans without Hood County turning out. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for showing up to the fight. Thank you for making sure that conservatives win these elections, and we win in November as well. And the runoff is coming up on the 26th, right? We're getting close to this. The 18th is the first day of early voting. It's only 1 week, by the way. There's no Saturday, Sunday voting in rural primary runoff. I would love to earn your vote. I would love to earn your support. And I hope as you leave here tonight, like this is grass tops, people come to everybody in this room and ask, who's our guy in this race? Who should we vote for? There are so many that ask each one of you that question. And I hope that your answer is our guy in the Attorney General's race is Middleton. So God bless you. God bless your family. God bless Texas.
questions, I got my cards here. We have 1 or 2 MAGA Maze hats left, so. I don't, yeah, we'll put it in the raffle. Okay. Door prize. And if you want one, email me and I'll get you one. So, God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So,
Hey, good to meet you.
Gozer, you want to come down here? So one of the things we do next is to be able to support our club for charity donations, essay contests, or different things that we give. We pass a basket and ask for a donation. Anything's not too small, anything you got in your pocket, keep it around, just throw it in the basket, and we appreciate it.
Christine
While we're doing
Luttridge
that,
and Matt.
we're going to have gun rights to come up and want to Joseph. And during this time, we're also we have 3 great door prizes tonight.
Yeah, Christine's going to be passing around the basket on this side, and Matt Long's over here on this side, and we're going to give away these prizes now. The first one is the MAGA Maze.
First one is our MAGA Maze hat.
Get your tickets out.
One, 2, 5, 8. 1, 2, 5, 8. You got it?
I think we need to check in on that one. Well, get your ticket. Okay. Yes, our chairman of the Hood County Republican Party, Greg Harrell, donated his 250th anniversary hat along with the Trump mints.
Okay, the number is 1250.
It's me. Oh, you did it. Yeah, I did it. I told God I wanted it.
You gotta go up and get it.
Also, I want to recognize the Browns for showing up again in video, and I'm really glad to see them here.
There you go.
Oh, right. Wow.
The next door prize we have is donated
last year, 5 years ago.
by one of our own members that helps us out quite a bit, Matt Long. Matt Long makes these pickleball paddles, and so he's donated these pickleball paddles along with a bag that goes with it. So everybody, let's thank Matt Long. Matt Long. You want to take that out? Okay. I thought she was going to paddle with it. Okay, the number for the pickleball paddles. 1218. Yes. I trust it. So I want to thank all the people who donated our door prizes tonight. They were great. So, and next month, we have another pickleball paddle who donated. So come back next month and maybe you'll win that.
And when we were fixing the volume, I was back there trying to turn us up. You could barely hear Sharon say that our next meeting is the 21st, 19th, whatever. I'm not. How many times have I done that now? Whatever. The third Tuesday, because the fourth Tuesday is that election where we have to get out and vote for Mays. And I'm killing time while I'm playing. And Terry McNew's going to be my clerk. That we have to do that a week early because there's so many people in here that work the elections. We have several election judges here, lots of clerks that work the elections.
Okay, I have one more announcement to make while we're getting this going is, I did get a note from Stacy Martin that on May the 28th, there's going to be a meeting in that for Roger Williams. We'll be getting that information out to everybody. I don't know, did I see Stacy here? I think she had some flyers. I think she has some flyers that she wanted to maybe hand out to some. If you're interested, please see Stacy. And the real quick message is, it's about two of our children here in Mid-County. We had two young girls, and I'm going to find my phone, that won the art contest, the congressional art contest for the district, Roger Williams district. These girls won first prize and second prize. And the first prize winner gets their art. It's going to be hung in the halls of Congress for a year, and her parents get a trip to Washington. So both of these girls came from Hood County, so we need to be proud that we have this type of scholars in our community. I'll tell you one of the names, I can tell you the names. One was Kinley Roach, she won first prize, and the other girl was Abigail Beatty, and she won second. So we're really proud of these kids. Can you get the lights? Somebody turn off the lights.
Kyle Rittenhouse. Rittenhouse was at a protest over the shooting of Jacob Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin last year.
5 years ago, I was forced to defend my life. And the simple truth is, if I wasn't defending myself, I would have been killed. When I was on trial, it was never really about me. It was about your right to self-defense. By the grace of God, I was acquitted. But that acquittal did not spare me from years of relentless attacks. That's why nearly a year ago, I stepped away from the public eye, and I tried to live a private life. I met my wife, Bella, and for the first time in a long time, I was able to breathe. But then, on September 10th, everything changed. I witnessed my friend Charlie Kirk assassinated by a violent leftist. Charlie was one of my most vocal defenders. I realized I could no longer sit on the sidelines because silence only empowers those who celebrate political violence. That's what Charlie believed in, and it's what I believe in too. So today, I'm done hiding. I'm announcing that I'm back. I'm back in Texas, and I'm rejoining the fight with Texas gun rights. If you believe the right to keep and bear arms is worth defending, I need you with me. Join us at TexasGunRights.org.
Howdy, folks. We enjoying all this well-needed rain we've been getting. It's been needed. Thank you guys for all coming out today. I am going to share a little bit about my story and what happened to me. Trying to find the right spot to stand without getting blinded by a projector. But about 6 years ago, on August 25th, 2020, I was violently attacked. I was a 17-year-old kid working as a lifeguard, a fire cadet, and a police explorer in Kenosha, Wisconsin. I went out there to provide first aid and help put out fires. During that night, I was confronted by several people where I was forced to defend myself. One of those people, a convicted pedophile who anally raped 5 9-year-old little boys, Joseph Rosenbaum, the first person who attacked me, said to me, "If I catch you alone, I'm going to effing kill you." Those were the words of Joseph Rosenbaum. a violent, deranged man who was released from prison a few years back and released that day on August 25th from a mental hospital for attempting to kill himself and beating the living crud out of his fiancée, was there. As the night went on, I put out several fires. I provided first aid to many different people, rioters, protesters, counter-protesters, and I didn't think anything was going to happen. I had my AR-15 with me and a medical kit. That AR-15 in the state of Wisconsin was completely legal for me to have openly. The legislator in Wisconsin says anybody between the ages of 16 and 17 years of age can possess and openly carry a rifle with a barrel longer than 16 inches. And that is exactly what I had. I was following the law, but there were people that said I wasn't. The media called me a white supremacist. They called me a Nazi. They called me the worst things you can say. Joe Biden, President Autopen, used my face on the front cover of his first campaign ad, calling me a neo-Nazi. He put that out for hundreds of millions of people to see. The media, they smeared and attacked me relentlessly, all because I defended myself. While I was there, after Mr. Rosenbaum threatened me, the night went on, and then 11:30 hit. I get a call from Dominic Black, and he tells me, hey, they're setting the cars on fire. I need you to get to one of the car lots we were protecting. I said, okay. I grabbed the fire extinguisher from the Ultimate gas station, and I started running towards this car source lot number 3. I'm getting closer. I see this black Duramax with smoke rolling out the window, but I didn't know that Mr. Rosenbaum was waiting for me there. I was running into an ambush. As I'm heading that way, I get to that Duramax, and the first thing I see when I turn that corner and I'm standing right there is a man named Joshua Zeminski, a member of the Sin City Disciples, a biker gang, and an amateur porn star standing there with his wife. Joshua Zeminski holding a Glock pistol in one hand, and Kelly Zeminski holding a metal baton flashlight that she has never once turned on throughout the entire night that she used to cause violence and destroy property with in her other hand. Mr. Rosenbaum, I didn't see him, but he was hiding behind that Duramax and a few other cars, waiting to ambush me with the Zeminskis. I start to back up when I notice this gun in Josh Zeminski's hand. I see that gun and I see this 6'3", 250-pound man stepping towards me. I back up. I look over my shoulder to get back to the police line, and what do I see? Joseph Rosenbaum, the masked pedophile who threatened to kill me earlier in the night, coming out from Iden. The man who said if he catches me alone, he's going to effing kill me, is now charging at me with a woman with a bat, a man with a Glock, and the man who threatened to kill me earlier chasing me, surrounded, with nowhere to go. So I go through the only opening I see, past Kelly Zeminski, and I start running. As I'm running, I turn around and I see Mr. Rosenbaum, Joseph Rosenbaum, is still chasing me. He's still pursuing me. I turn around, I address him. I put my rifle on him. I point my rifle at him. That does not stop him. He continues to run. I turn around and I start running again. I'm in between 4 cars, 2 of them parallel parked on one side, 2 of them parallel parked on the other side. and then another row of cars that are parallel parked, about 6 of them on the other side. And on the other side of those cars were about 200 to 300 people armed with bats, knives, guns, and weapons to cause harm. They were running me into a trap. They were going to try to do to me what they did to other people at riots and beat me to a bloody pulp and kill me. So I'm left with 2 options. Run into a crowd of 200 people and fight 200 people, or make the logical decision and turn around and face one person. So that is going through my brain as I'm still running. Right before I made the decision to turn around, I hear a pop! That's Joshua Zeminski firing a gunshot at me. I'm now being chased, surrounded, and being shot at with nowhere to go. So I turn around and I address Mr. Rosenbaum for a second time. I point my rifle at him. He screams something and continues to charge, and his hands get a hold of my gun. His hands are wrapped around the barrel of my gun. In autopsy photos and the medical examiner's report, there is gunpowder stipling on his hands from where he grabbed my gun, because his hand was touching the barrel. One of the rounds went through his hand because his hand was on the barrel of the gun. That's when I made the decision. It's either let them win and kill me, or fight back and have a chance at not dying. So I defended myself against the man who tried to kill me. The man who said if he catches me alone, who did catch me alone, trying to kill me. I continue running after defending myself around the vehicles. The crowd has dispersed. As I'm running around, I hear 3 more loud pops. Pop, pop, pop. I'm being shot at again. I go and I check on Mr. Rosenbaum. He's lying on the ground and somebody's rendering aid to him. But that's when Kelly Zeminski and Josh Zeminski mobilize the crowd again. They run over and they hype everybody up and they say, "This man just killed somebody. Get him, get his ass, get him, cranium that boy." And a lot more words that aren't great to say in a place of worship. They continue to form this crowd of hundreds of people. And as they're forming this crowd, I think in one thought in my head, I'm going to die, they're going to kill me. So I start booking it. There's now an opening to get back to that police line. So I'm running towards that police line, and then a second man comes into the picture. Gage Grosskrew, the armed robber. Mr. Grosskrew comes up to me, cell phone in his hand. He says, "Where are you going?" I tell him, "I'm going to the police line. I'm going to the police. I had to defend myself." Well, that wasn't enough for him. The red and blue lights in the distance, less than a block and a half away, were not enough for him to believe me when I told him I was going to the police. Thank God for video evidence. Thank God for independent journalists. Because we wouldn't know this, but as he was backing off after filming me, he arms himself with a Glock handgun. He's armed and he's now pursuing me. He'll never admit it. He lied in his, when he spoke on the stand when we called him. He lied about that until my attorneys finally got him to admit it. But now he's chasing me in full pursuit. As I'm running, there's this guy in a white beater who hits me in the back of the head with a rock. Immediately after that, Mr. Huber, Anthony Huber, he takes his skateboard. He drives his skateboard into the back of my skull. This is his first attack, Mr. Huber's first attack. After he drives his skateboard into my head, I trip and I hit the ground. As I'm on the ground, there's several people closing in on me. There's hundreds more chasing to join the attack. Those several people backed off when I pointed my rifle at them, besides one. That one was the unidentified, uncomplaining witness, Jump Kick Man. Jump Kick Man sends a flying kick to the center of my face, hitting dead on the middle of my nose and forehead and mouth, pushing my head back into the concrete. I fired 2 shots at him. Immediately after that, Mr. Huber comes in for his second attack. He takes that skateboard and drives it in the back of my head again while grabbing the barrel of my gun, driving his knees into my chest. He goes back for another swing with the skateboard for a third attack while trying to disarm me and trying to take my life away from me. I defend myself and I shoot him once, and he passes away. Immediately after that, without seconds to spare, Gage Grosskreutz, the man who knew where I was going, the man who saw me running to the police line, now armed with a gun, is towering over me. Gun pointed at my head, reaching for my gun. I point my rifle at him. He throws his hands up. I thought that was it. That was the end of the fight. He put his hands up and he backed off. But boy, was I wrong. I lower my rifle, but then he comes back again, pointing the gun directly at my head, about to execute me in the middle of Sheridan Road in Kenosha, Wisconsin. I see that and I lift my rifle up, and by the grace of God, because God was truly with me that night, I come in first and I don't let him execute me. I defend myself and I shoot him once, quite literally disarming him, hitting him in the bicep. He backs off. He's no longer a threat. I get up and I start heading towards the police line. I get to the squad car. I walk up there. I have my hands up. If you don't want to get shot by police, I always walk up to the cops there. Hands up. Don't pull up pretty. And as I get there, this officer says, "Where are you going? What are you doing?" And I said, "I just shot somebody. I had to defend myself." And he tells me to go home. I was like, no, here's the situation. And how many of you experienced what pepper spray tastes like? Not just feels like, but tastes like. It doesn't taste very great, because as soon as I tried to explain more, I see a handgun pointed to my face by one of the cops. And the next thing I see is an entire can of bear spray coating my body. So I took their advice. They seemed like they were pretty serious about it after emptying a can of spray in my face. And I went home. I went back to Antioch, Illinois, just across the border, 20 minutes. It's sort of like going into town. That's where the closest Costco was. And that's where I worked and spent 98% of my time. And I turned myself into the Antioch Police Department. I invoked my Fifth Amendment rights immediately. I didn't talk to law enforcement because I knew they were already trying to pin this on my head. I didn't know there was video evidence until about a month after my shooting. And I knew, because of how the Soros-funded DAs and the Democratic prosecutors and Democratic media were going to try to spin this. I was arrested, and I was held in jail for 87 days for defending myself. On November 20th of 2020, I posted $2 million cash bail. And that's where the entire journey started, where I was put on trial and forced to defend myself for a second time. It showed me a new picture of this world. It showed me how the left is going to do anything they can to try to throw you in prison or silence you. I had a prosecutor that violated my Fifth Amendment rights on the stand and questioned my post-arrest silence. I had an FBI that refused to have any testimony admitted because they were too scared to admit that they were violating American citizens' rights by surveilling U.S. citizens with an FBI drone and airplane. I learned what corruption looked like firsthand, and it sickened me. Through it all, I got through it with the grace of God. I got through it with knowing that I did nothing wrong. I learned that this could happen to anybody. This has happened to other people. You see what happened to Daniel Penny, Daniel Perry, and several other notable people who have defended themselves and have been thrown under the jail and have had to fight tooth and nail to get acquitted. I saw the relentless attacks that our Second Amendment takes every single day with gun-grabbing, trans-Republican Democrats that want to take away our rights and our right to live, our God-given right. Self-defense is a God-given right. And it made me angry. It made me want to fight. So I got into the fight originally with Texas Gun Rights, originally as their outreach director. I saw the insides of politics and the dirty machine of what gun grabbers actually look like and their tactics used. It made me more angry. But then I saw how hard we fight and the good things we do. Passing constitutional carry, banning red flag laws, and so many other great things. I was involved with Texas Gun Rights for a little bit, and then I needed a break. A little over a year ago, I left Texas. I moved to Florida, and I met my wife, Bella, and we moved around for a little bit trying to figure out where to go. Ended up in Colorado, out of all places. Yeah. While in Colorado, I was working for Victor Marx. And then September 10th happened. I knew Charlie Kirk. He was one of my first defenders. He talked about the truth and pushed the truth and fought for me harder than almost anyone. I saw his life taken from him. And that's when I've decided enough is enough. When is this violence going to end? They tried to kill me and they failed, but they killed Charlie Kirk. I'm back in the fight full time, back with Texas Gun Rights after begging my de facto dad, just kidding, to come back. And I am now their Director of Partnerships and Chief Firearms Instructor. I work for the foundation side of things, and I help look at the legal side of issues and how we can help advocate for other people while helping build companies together, or partner with different gun companies such as Shadow Systems and so many more, like Henry, to build the fight in Texas. It's a mission that's important to me because the Second Amendment saved my life. Without it, I would be dead. The Second Amendment, in my opinion, is the most important because it defends all others. With that, I don't have much else to add. I don't want to rob the rest of your guys' afternoon. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to take some questions.
What did you learn the most during the trial process? A lot of us watched you. What did you learn from that?
The government is not your friend, and they're not there to help you. I did not get my gun back. So I actually had my rifle destroyed. I used it as a tool. Don't worry, it was just a crappy Smith & Wesson M&P Sport 2. I have a way better rifle now, I promise. But I had it destroyed because I used it as a tool, and there were some people around it that wanted to sell it and make $1 million off of it. I didn't feel like using that as a way to make money.
Hey Kyle, thanks for coming tonight. You said that Charlie Kirk was one of your primary defenders. Who else really helped to defend you through all of this mess?
Charlie Kirk was one of my avid defenders, but believe it or not, President Donald Trump, within days of my shooting, he came to my defense. Not even 48 hours after I was forced to defend myself, President Trump came to my defense and he spoke about the video. Jack Posobiec was one of them. Tucker Carlson, who's still a very good friend, defended me. Sean Hannity, Pete Hegseth. Those were some of the champions who defended me the most when it mattered.
Commissioner Eagle.
So I just got to ask, where'd you get the $2 million?
So the $2 million was all crowdfunded from small dollar donors. I'm not a millionaire. Oh, God, do I wish I was a millionaire. It'd be easier on some days. But it was all crowdfunded from generous donors who believed in my right to self-defense, who saw that it wasn't just me on trial, but it was this entirety of self-defense in its whole. They knew if I was convicted, that self-defense was essentially dead in this country.
Did any gun rights company, NRA, any of them help you?
The NRA did absolutely nothing to help me, but the National Association for Gun Rights, a group I am a life member of, stood by me and defended me both financially and in the court of public opinion alongside Texas Gun Rights defended me. Those were the two organizations that no compromised and defended me to the whole in both financial aspects, because lawyers are expensive, didn't know that at 17, and in the court of public opinion where the left tried to destroy me.
Why do you think the NRA didn't defend you?
They're cowards.
Yeah.
The NRA essentially does not like to get involved in issues that they deem too controversial. And I'm not afraid to say that because they still refuse to do anything with me.
So I have a follow-up question, Kyle. So you were in jail for almost 3 months before you bailed out. What were the charges?
I was charged with 7 counts. First-degree intentional homicide. Reckless endangerment of Richard McGinnis, a journalist who was filming the entire incident. First-degree reckless homicide against Joseph Rosenbaum. First-degree intentional homicide attempt against Gage Grosskreutz. A statute that did not apply. Possession of a firearm by the person under the age of 18. The legislator won that battle for me because Wisconsin rights to laws were. And then, in my opinion, the most serious one of them all, a curfew violation. It's a $25 ticket that I didn't have to get paid because the prosecution couldn't prove I was out past curfew.
Of course.
from Wisconsin, so I'm familiar with how it is. Do you think that the result would be any different? And I got to Texas as soon as I could. But do you think the result would have been any different had it happened in Texas versus Wisconsin?
Depends on the part of Texas. Here in Hood County, I don't think I would have been prosecuted. I think if they would have tried to prosecute me, that DA would not be a DA anymore, because here in Texas, we speak at the ballot box. Now in Tarrant County, or in Dallas County, or in Travis County, or Houston, I probably would have been convicted. Not just put on trial, but I probably would have been convicted. There was a similar case, I mentioned it earlier, in Travis County, to where a man who defended himself with a firearm was convicted. His name was Daniel Perry, and there was this man, Garrett Foster, that walked up to his vehicle, and Garrett thought it would be a wise idea and learned what FAFO meant, and he pointed an AK-47 at a U.S. Army officer. I don't know about you, but I don't think it's going to end very well when you point an AK-47 at an Army officer who happens to have a 5-shooter with them, because Garrett Foster figured out what lead tasted like. But unfortunately, Daniel Perry was convicted, and we had to fight for a pardon from Governor Abbott, and he was pardoned a year and a half ago.
So I'm actually from Illinois, so my question is, you turned yourself in Illinois, is that correct?
Yeah.
So how did that work between the states? Would Illinois have been worse?
I probably would have been convicted in Illinois. Depending on the part, Lake County is not as bad as Cook County. The judges are, at the time, not now, they've gone way downhill, but at the time, in 2020, they were somewhat reasonable. But I was extradited back to Wisconsin, so I had to go through an extradition hearing, and the courts had to send me back. And it was very interesting. I went to the adult jail, and I was in a little cell, maybe about 3 feet by 3 feet wide. No walking room. You couldn't even spin in there if you wanted to. A very small dog cage. But went to the hearing, knew I was going back to Wisconsin, didn't know the tactical operation that I went through, because I had an entire SWAT team escort me into the courthouse, drove me in an armored Tahoe, shut down roads, and had a counter sniper team. And that's when I realized, wow, people really don't like me out here. And that was for Lake County, but then we get to Kenosha, and I'm expecting the same exact treatment when they hand me over to the Kenosha County Sheriffs. And this was the first thought in my head that I said, wow, the government may actually try to kill me. Because it was 3 deputies with Kenosha County in a white van. And I was just getting paraded around Lake County in a motorcade and no shackles on, and could see where I was going. But we do the switch at a shooting range. They took me to the Lake County Sheriff's Office Training Center where they do their pistol and rifle qualification. And I just see middle of nowhere targets out there. And I said, oh wow, they're gonna take me out here. I was wrong, they didn't, thank God. But they throw me in the back of this white van, and they drove me 10 minutes over the border into Kenosha, because Kenosha is literally bordered up with Illinois and Lake County. They are neighbors. It's closer than going to another town in Antioch. It's just closer to go to Kenosha.
I got another question, Kyle. Sorry about that, but I wanted to make Tina get her exercise tonight anyway. So, what happened to any of the people that assaulted you? Were any of those folks charged?
Well, 2 of them are deceased. And then one of the deceased ones, Anthony Huber, and Gage Gross Groups, Anthony Huber's family and Gage Gross Groups are suing me for $20 million in the Eastern District of Wisconsin. No. Not a single charge. And that is all thanks to Sorrel-funded DA. And there's more stuff about Gage Gross Groups I wish I could talk about. But unfortunately, I am under a gag order with a lot of the stuff I want to share. But it's bad, and when the civil trials are done, and I get to speak freely about things he said in his deposition and other evidence, it's going to be a very good day because he should be prosecuted for what he did to me.
So you are currently in the middle of 2 civil lawsuits?
Yes.
Or did they get together and...
Yes, I am being sued with about 20 different law enforcement agencies in the state as a defendant. So I'm actively defending against those civil suits.
Wow.
I have a 1/4-inch dent in the back of my head.
That is amazing that you were able to do that.
Honestly, God was with me that night. I was an untrained 17-year-old kid who had no experience behind a rifle. Since then, I've learned a lot about rifles, and I like to consider myself a pretty good shot. But I had God with me. I had Him standing with me, and He is the only reason I'm alive today because of His grace.
So as an adult looking back on it now, how would you have handled, or would you have handled anything differently?
Well, first off, I wouldn't have gone there. If I can't take away the fact of me being there, because I'll admit it, I was a dumb 17-year-old kid and I had no business being at a riot. Don't let your 17-year-old kids go to riots. But that doesn't take away my right to self-defense. I know the Democrats like to use me saying that as like, oh, see, he's admitting he had no right. No, I had every single right. But if I couldn't take away that part, I wouldn't change anything because I think I defended myself perfectly against every person who attacked me.
Anybody else? Make sure you wait till I get all the way over here, Dave.
Perfect. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for your time and your attention. I want to introduce you to somebody very special tonight. You don't hear from him next, but he has been like a de facto dad to me for the last 3 years, and I've learned a lot from him and a lot of mentorship and guidance. So, Chris McNutt, take it away.
We need to really properly introduce you guys before we get started. And I know a lot of y'all have heard about the Texas gun rights, and this is Chris McNutt, who's just president, and we're really glad to have you here. So.
Well, thank you very much for having me. And I know I'll be pretty quick because I know you guys probably want to get back home to your normal weeknight routines. But my name is Chris McNutt. I'm the president of Texas Gun Rights, and we are the largest gun rights organization in the state of Texas, period. And not only that, we are the only gun rights organization that is based in Texas that is fighting for your Second Amendment, God-given Second Amendment rights without compromise. And this right here is a photo of why we fight. So this is me and my family, my beautiful wife Murphy, my daughter Millie, who is now 4.5, Malachi, who is 2.5, and Micah, he'll be 9 weeks just next week. And then also included Kyle, as he alluded, he is kind of my pseudo-adopted child. I inherited a 23-year-old son. I know I look extremely young, but I'm only 40, so it feels kind of odd to be playing a father figure to a young adult, but he's fantastic, and I hope that I can live up to his expectations and God's expectations just to mentor and pour into him. So, as I said, we are the largest gun rights organization in the state of Texas. We have 3 different branches of our entity. One is the 501c4 Texas Gun Rights. That's what you see the legislative advocacy and holding your politicians accountable during election time. We also have a foundation, which is our educational and legal advocacy, as well as training the next generation of gun rights activists. We teach folks like you the tactics that it takes to be successful and pass pro-gun legislation hold politicians accountable, and also to defeat any gun control. And then, of course, we've got Texas Gun Rights PAC. It's a state-level PAC where we just advocate directly for or against good candidates and bad candidates. Just very briefly, we were organized in 2014 as the state affiliate of the National Association for Gun Rights with a long-term goal of making Texas a constitutional carry state. When we first started that fight, there was only a handful of states in the country where you could, for a law-abiding citizen to be able to carry a firearm to protect yourself or your loved ones without having to beg the government for a permission slip. So we spearheaded that fight, got the first ever constitutional carry bill filed in 2015. Republicans just wanted to hand us scraps, and so we had licensed open carry, and we also got campus carry that year, or in 2015 leading into 2016. So 2017 we came back pushing it. They decided that they just wanted to reduce the license fee from, I think it was $140 down to $40. So at the time, not only did we not have any kind of open carry or campus carry, but we had one of the most expensive licenses in the country. So when we knocked it down to $40, that made it a little bit better. But they thought that was going to be enough scraps to have gun owners get off their backs, go away. So then we come back 2019, and this is probably getting a little too much in the weeds, but the Texas Speaker of the House at the time, Dennis Bonnet, decided to blame me for the death of constitutional carry. As if I can somehow have the power to decide what legislation moves and what dies. And why did he do this? It's because I was going to the houses of all of the Republican leadership and explaining to their constituents by leaving flyers at the doors and talking with people at the doors, talking to them about their Republican leaders killing constitutional carry behind closed doors, all while pretending to be pro-gun and propping up their fake NRA ratings. So thankfully, when I got to the Speaker's house, he wasn't there. I saw Department of Public Safety at his house, which is very unusual, even though he's a very powerful person. He is not afforded protection by state police. That's Lieutenant Governor, that's Attorney General, and also the Governor. The Speaker doesn't get that. So when I approached DPS, I asked them if I could leave this flyer on the Speaker's home, because I was talking to other donors and voters in his neighborhood. And they said, oh, sure, we'll put the flyer on the door for you. So simple as that. I went on to the next house. I actually think it was Ron Paul at the time was the next person on my target list. And sure enough, about a week later, I found out that by a reporter reaching out to me, wanting to know, why were you at the Speaker's house? And so at that point, I knew that something was going on. And next thing you know, as soon as I gave a quote to the Houston Chronicle, within minutes, a full hit piece was published and syndicated by Texas Tribune, and it went nationwide saying, left or far right activists, threatens lawmakers' families. Like, what? That escalated quickly. Thankfully, towards that tail end of session, we were able to get DPS body cam footage that pretty much debunked every lie about me. And soon after that, the Speaker got caught up in another battle with Michael Quinn Sullivan of then Empowered Texans, getting caught in a quid pro quo scheme, trying to trade House media credentials and access to the House floor, something that they already had in the Senate, in exchange for going after political opponents. So after that happened, the Speaker did not run for re-election, and we used that as a big piece to hold folks accountable in the upcoming Republican primaries. And in 2021, there were no more excuses, because at that point, we had made constitutional carry easily one of the top legislative issues in the state, but definitely the #1 gun rights issue in the state. And so under then Speaker Phelan, in his first session, we were able to successfully pass constitutional carry. And like I said, there was only a handful of states that had it when we first started in 2014. By the time we passed it in 21, we were the 21st state. So Texas, unfortunately, despite being Republican controlled for decades, has always been leading from behind. And this is another one of those clear examples. So 2021, our mission was accomplished, right? We passed constitutional carry. We're the best gun rights state in the country? No, not even close. In 23, the rhinos thought that they had finished their jobs. They were patting themselves on the back. They thought their work was done. So they killed our bill to ban red flag gun confiscation laws, and they killed our bill to pass the Second Amendment Preservation Act. And not only that, they decided to codify the Cornyn-Biden gun control that passed federally in 2022, parts of it that would expand the NICS gun ban, gun owner registry ban. And so we use that as an issue to hold Republicans accountable in the upcoming election season. And so these are actually all pro-gun candidates that filled out our candidate survey, 100% pro-gun, no compromise, pledging to fight for your Second Amendment rights without compromise. And this was also, at the time, the most that we had ever received from candidates. And this is from everybody from the top of the ballot, statewide places, all the way down to Texas House. And so in total, we had 25 pro-gun legislative candidates, and we had our biggest election year ever with spending over $400,000 holding Republicans accountable. So did it pay off? Indeed it did. 25, we had one of our best gun rights sessions. It was on the cusp of being probably the second, if not the best session that we ever had following the constitutional carry battle. But unfortunately, a couple of those items died at the last minute. But we were able to ban red flag gun confiscation laws. That was our #1 priority. So that means your guns cannot be confiscated without due process. And we fought this largely in support of our veterans because, unfortunately, those who put their life on the line for our country and served faithfully, if they had help, financial assistance, if they had PTSD, any host of issues, and if they encountered the wrong bureaucrat at the VA, they could then have their name dumped into the NICS gun ban registry and be a prohibited person, meaning that they could no longer exercise their Second Amendment rights. They couldn't go to the FFL, the local firearms store, and purchase a gun. And we always have believed that a temporary or a right delayed is a right denied. So even if it's only temporary, in which in many cases it was not temporary, they made it very hard for you to prove that you're not a threat. So our bill to ban red flag laws stopped that here in Texas. I think there's still a little bit of cleanup that we need to do in the family code, but we also want to make sure that people that beat their wife aren't able to get guns. But I've got somebody that's helping us with that. We also passed universal reciprocity in 25, which is very good for those that are traveling to Texas. It doesn't do much for folks going elsewhere. But a perfect example is licenses still grant special privileges, unfortunately. So if somebody is traveling to this state, we want to make sure that they have the same protections as a license holder if they're licensed in another state, in case if they get caught up. And a perfect example of this is a couple years ago, my wife and I, we went to the airport for a delayed anniversary celebration. But in the chaos of getting home, getting the kids together, taking the Grammy and Pops down here in Granbury, and then heading to DFW, all of that chaos, I forgot that inside my backpack I had another small bag that had my range pistol in it. And so I go through TSA, get caught up for like 10 minutes, didn't have any clue what was going on, and then all of a sudden it ticked when law enforcement came over. I'm like, oh crap, that's my gun. And then sure enough, they finally pulled me to the side. They made sure that my gun wasn't stolen. They ran the serial number and everything. And because I had my license to carry, they just let me go and put the gun back in my truck safe, and I was still able to get back and make my flight. So that just shows you how much of a threat I was not, because I was able to make my flight. But had I not had my license to carry, I would have instead been spending that night in jail. And that would have had a whole lot of negative repercussions and ramifications for the rest of my rights if that would have happened that night. So now folks with license from all 50 states will have those same protections that we have here in Texas. And of course, personally, even though we passed constitutional carry,
I always recommend that people keep their licenses for special situations like that, as well as having reciprocity in other states that are not yet constitutional carry. And of course, it speeds up the process for when you're purchasing a firearm. And your 4473 isn't automatically transferred to the federal gun registry. When that happens, it's just the gun store keeps it on hand for them. So we also passed SBR, short barrel rifle, and short barrel shotgun deregulation. This could have been a much more significant bill if the cowards in Congress didn't cave during the One Big Beautiful Bill fight. So what this would have done was it removed these weapons off of the state prohibited weapons list, and it remained so that way they were only on the National Firearms Act federally. And in the One Big Beautiful Bill fight last year, there was a bill that would have completely removed those as NFA items. But instead, the Republicans, led by John Cornyn, caved to the Democrat parliamentarian to say that the bill, that amendment was not germane. It violated the Byrd rule because it didn't relate to tax. But when the Congress passed the NFA in the 1930s, and the Supreme Court reaffirmed in the 1930s that the NFA was nothing but a tax. So what the Republican compromise was they were just going to zero out the tax and leave all the regulation and red tape in place. Now, of course, a $200 tax removal is a win for gun owners, right? But that was never the complaint from everybody. It was the registration and all the bureaucracy and paperwork and having the government track something that's nothing more than just a hearing protection device. It does nothing to make your firearm more lethal. And in communistic European countries, it is actually considered polite to use a suppressor, but here we treat them like machine guns. So, if that would have been fully deregulated at the federal level, this would have been a huge win at the state, because then we could just walk up to any store and buy that without being treated like a criminal. We also passed House Bill 3053, the municipal gun buyback. This is usually more of a problem in places like Dallas or Austin or Houston, but anywhere you have left-wing cities and police chiefs, they do these gun buybacks and hand out gift cards for people to come in and turn in their firearms in hopes of getting criminals to hand over their guns and get bad guns off the street. Of course, since the invention of 3D printers, a lot of people have taken advantage of this, printed out a bunch of 3D firearms that maybe fire once, if at all, and they would just load up on gift cards. And so it's just a complete waste of taxpayer money, and it really doesn't do anything to make us any safer. So we were able to ban that practice statewide. And then, lastly, of the major victories, we passed the Foster Parent Second Amendment Privacy Act. And that was tremendous because is there anybody that's a foster parent in here? No? So, in the state of Texas, if you want to foster a child, you have to you had to let the government know that you had guns in the house and what they were. They would have to get all the serial numbers, and then not only that, you would have to store them separately. Somewhere you have to follow state guidelines on how you lock them up. You don't have any discretion of how you treat that. So there's all sorts of reasons why that is bad, but even more importantly, with so many kids in need of good families, people effectively had to choose either their Second Amendment rights or to help these families. So we passed that. You no longer have to register your guns if you want to foster a child. So it's a huge win for gun owners. This was a list of all of the bills that we were tracking during the last session. The majority of these are bad. And that's nothing unusual. There were more bills filed this last session than there were the previous session, and that's been a growing trend. And of course, now with Texas in play, thanks to our RINO senator wasting $100 million in the primary, now the Democrats are emboldened more than ever. This is just a photo of all of our various gun owner lobby days and stuff from this last session. As you can see, Kyle was right there testifying on the Senate floor to ban red flag laws. Before we got it passed. This was our main gun owner lobby day. As I said, we also have a foundation, and I'm going to speed through this quickly because I know we're running late. Our board chairman for both the C4 and the C3, he actually resigned about a month ago to go join the Second Amendment section of the Civil Rights Division in the Department of Justice, so bringing our no compromise legal fighters straight to the Department of Justice, so that way we can start wrangling in that beast of the DOJ filled with so much bureaucracy. And things are slowly moving our way. Of course, he also helped us win our pistol stabilizing brace lawsuit against the ATF. And he was also part of our efforts with Harvey Dillon, who's the Deputy Assistant AG, in our lawsuit against forced reset triggers. And then so we've got several things that we want to fight. Next session, Kyle's Law is a big one. It's just putting more teeth into stand your ground, making sure that people can't sue you into oblivion, especially if you've been acquitted for murder or in self-defense cases, or if a grand jury has decided to not bill you because they didn't have enough evidence to do so. You should not be sued into oblivion for exercising your God-given rights. And of course, nationally, we're pushing for real national constitutional carry. Right now, as everybody is well aware, we're in the heat of a very important runoff battle of an even more important midterm cycle. We have proudly endorsed Attorney General Ken Paxton to succeed John Cornyn. And we're involved in many other races. Unfortunately, this may or may not be popular in this room. I think Mays Middleton has been a great ally to us down in Austin in both the House and in the Senate. I think he will make a fantastic AG if that is the case. But we have joined National Association for Gun Rights, Gun Owners of America, and several prominent members of the firearms community to endorse Chip Roy. He has been one of the most outspoken fighters for the Second Amendment in the country, bar none. I mean, there are very few people that has fought as vigorously for our rights than Chip Roy, and so that's why we support him. There's been misinformation on both sides, and I can guarantee you both of those gentlemen have some of the most conservative voting records, period. So don't believe anything about either of them, that not being the case. That's just election rhetoric. So, early last year in the summer, when it seemed like President Trump might be weighing in to endorse someone after expressing that both Cornyn and Paxton were good friends of his, we delivered over 10,000 signed petitions to President Trump, encouraging him to stay out of the primary, and guess what? He did. And also, and this is our One Big Beautiful Ballot, this is one of the tools we've been using to hold our politicians accountable. So basically everybody that's on this list has returned a 100% pro-gun candidate survey, Texas Gun Rights Candidate Survey, pledging to fight for your gun rights without compromise. And this is the most that we've ever had. We had over 100 before the primary. After the primary, it's about 60 or 70. And as you can see, we've got pro-gun surveys from both, Chip Roy and Mays Middleton. So they have both pledged to fight without compromise. So, if there's any way that you can help us in the fight, memberships start at $35 per year for Texas Gun Rights. And we also have life memberships for $1,000, and that goes directly towards our efforts to pass pro-gun legislation, defeat bad gun legislation, and also hold bad Republicans accountable and Democrats accountable in the elections. But here in Texas, most of our important work is done in the primaries and runoffs. Hopefully that will stay the case, because I hate to see this state go blue. But as I said, after Senator Cornyn spent over $100 million just to barely edge out our pro-gun champion Attorney General, it's put Texas in play, at least at the U.S. Senate level. So, and then if you want to help through a tax-deductible means, you can make your donations out to Texas Gun Rights Foundation, and that'll help Kyle's work, getting involved in firearms training, and also just helping find more ways to protect gun owners and fight in the courts. And with that, if there's any questions, I'd love to answer any questions. We've got some signed books over here for Kyle for $30, and we've also got hats and stuff if you want to get a membership.
please stay here for a minute? Could Allison or Tina come down with the... Hood County Republican Conservatives is donating $200 to the Texas Gun Rights. Okay, so Hood County really does want to support Texas gun rights. And so your generous donations in the basket, and that we ask for every month, so thank you guys. Okay, so I didn't know if I saw Wes here. Well, usually we have Wes sing us out, but do we have any other singers here that want to sing God Bless America?